So, Mark Pritchard, MP for the Wrekin on 3 occasions. This is your 4th election, no stranger to the general election process. Would you like to just introduce yourself to the people of the Wrekin?
My name is Mark Pritchard. I'm the Conservative parliamentary candidate for the Wrekin, and I hope if the people choose that I'll be re-elected as the Member of Parliament for the Wrekin to serve a 4th term. I don't take any vote for granted, but I've still got fire in my belly to continue to serve the people in the best way I can, whatever their background. And indeed, whether they vote for me or not, if I am elected, I'll continue to serve them in the best way possible.
Okay. So I ran a survey across social media users in the Wrekin and Telford, and they both came out with the same 3 priorities. The first one is probably no stranger to yourself, and that's the health service. Famously, you went up the Wrekin in a tank to save the PRH. We're a few years on from that. Can you just explain what's happening now and what your plans are?
Well, I think the greatest myth has been sort of killed off today in the Shropshire Star, and that is that people say, well, a lot of these changes are because there isn't any funding of the NHS locally. That's not accurate, and in fact, you look at the media today, it's clear that it's not a funding issue. There is funding available for the clinical care commissioning groups for the NHS Hospital Trust. What is clear is that we have a recruitment problem. A recruitment problem for the qualified medical and clinical staff that we need for the hospital. So this is not about funding, this is about recruitment, and it's down to the local hospital to make sure that they get the right people into the right positions for the local health service. So I think the NHS will continue to be an issue. There are those that are hoping for bad news. I think the opposition are, and different parties. What I'm hoping for is good news and the best news possible for local people. Now, in my view, that means continuing to have a 24-hour accident and emergency service at the PRH in Telford, to have a women and children's unit at the PRH in Telford. We've just opened the unit 3 years ago. It cost £28 million. I was one of the champions of that. Remember, it was going to be moved to Shrewsbury. We had the campaign. We not only saved it, we saw it expand and have new funds put into it. We're having new services, cancer care unit put into the PRH, and other new services as well. But my top priority is for the Princess Royal Hospital, for the local NHS. Now, the Labour Party, forgive me, locally, are arguing that there should be an A&E in Shrewsbury and in Telford. My view is that my job is to fight for Telford, for the Wrekin, for the Princess Royal Hospital. I'll let other people fight for Shrewsbury. So I think the Labour Party are sort of confused in their position. I'm absolutely crystal clear that my top priority, as with local Conservative councillors, is the fight for the Princess Royal Hospital, the A&E, the Women and Children Unit. Now, whether we win that fight, we'll wait and see, but we're certainly going to fight it to keep it, and I think ultimately we'll be successful. Time will tell. But the important thing here, Andy, is this. These decisions are being led by clinicians and medical practitioners, not by politicians. That these decisions are being made locally by medical people, not by the Secretary of State in Whitehall. Local people said, we don't want Westminster involved, we don't want Whitehall involved, we don't want the government involved, we want to make local decisions on local health matters locally. Well, that's what's happening. Now let's wait and see whether the people actually like the result of that or not.
So what do you think about the campaigns to the march? It's all very political. Some people have said to me that they wish the politicians would step out and allow the CCG, but the process has to be transparent,
Yeah,
and let people know what's going on.
Well, I agree. For me, this is a community issue, not a political issue. I'm afraid that others have made it a political issue, and you don't see me sort of bashing the Labour Party or bashing the Liberal Democrats at any time apart from the election. Obviously, it would be rather naive for people to think in an election time you're not going to have a difference of opinion with the Labour Party, which is my main opponents here. I think the Labour candidate has some questions to answer locally in the Wrekin about what he decided to do when he was on the clinical care commissioning group for 7 or 9 years. Is he confident that he didn't make any decisions that advantaged Shrewsbury over Telford during his tenure on the board, non-executive director of the Clinical Care Commission Group. I asked him that at a hustings the other day. He seemed slightly confused in his answer. I don't want to personalise it. All I'm saying, people need to be transparent, they need to be consistent, and I have, and that transparency and consistency is fighting for local people, fighting for the local NHS, and I will continue to do so, not saying one thing one year and doing another thing another.
Okay. So the other two items that people were most concerned about are jobs and the economy, things like minimum wage, and also education and tuition fees. Would you like to just expand on what the plans are for those?
Well, Shropshire has the lowest unemployment rate in its history. That said, I'd like to see more people get into higher paid jobs. I think that feeds really into the education system locally, both at the feeder schools, whether they be Adams Grammar School, whether they be other schools in the area, whether they be small rural schools at a primary school level, Church of England schools, through to TCAT, through to Harper Adams. What we've got to have is an education system locally as well as nationally, but locally and regionally, that feeds into the skills, needs and requirements of local industry, whether that be aerospace engineering, defence manufacturing, car manufacturing, agri-sciences or agriculture, or food manufacturing, or even the services and the new media service industry that is developing in the area. So that's what we've got to do. And I think for me, I think Theresa May is absolutely right. We've got to make sure that every school is a good school, that no child is left behind, but we're getting people into jobs that meet the needs of the local economy. Now, for some children and some young adults and teenagers, that might mean a degree, but it also might mean an apprenticeship, particularly locally.
Thank you. So, if you just think back on your time as an MP representing you, what have you achieved that you're most proud of?
Well, I think certainly saving RAF Cosford, along with others in the community. That was going to be mothballed, if you remember. We're now seeing an expansion of Cosford, many more new facilities being built and new personnel being brought in. Also MOD Donington, we were likely to see a divestment out of Donington down into Wiltshire. Some of the defence manufacturing and upgrading of Warrior, etc. That has now been halted and reversed, and I hope that, certainly one of the challenges I have, but I believe will be successful, is to see MOD Donington expand further over the coming years. I think on the health service, we've certainly stopped the move to Shrewsbury of the Women and Children's Unit. We now need to continue that campaign, and we've also seen more funding coming into Shropshire and to Telford and Wrekin for education funding. There's a disparity nationally in the funding formula. That's something that's now changed. I think there's more to be done on that. There are challenges for the future, and I think overall it's having a strong economy locally that has produced many more jobs. What we've got to do is get higher paid jobs into the local economy. There are many challenges ahead, as I said, but I think a lot has been done over the last 10 years, 12 years, and hopefully I'll have an opportunity to serve the people again and to be a voice for the Wrekin in Parliament. And of course, I take the view that my job is to represent the people of the Wrekin to government and not represent the government to the Wrekin. And having a Conservative, albeit independent-minded member of Parliament who's prepared to be robust to ministers and even the Prime Minister of the day on behalf of my constituents, that's what people expect. A straight-talking person who's going to represent their views, represent their feelings and their outlook and their worldview at the very highest level as well as locally.
It's not just about the Wrekin, is it? With Brexit, the impact that's going to have on the area, do you see that as a positive impact?
We've got to make Brexit work. The people have spoken, and it's right that the Prime Minister's called this election to hopefully win the election, to strengthen our hand, to negotiate the best deal for Britain in Brussels. There'll be challenges ahead, but we're the British people, and particularly Shropshire people, are innovative, they're creative, they're entrepreneurs, they're resilient, and I think whilst there may be challenges ahead, we'll come through them fitter and more wise and more able to take on the challenges of this other part of the 21st century. You know, we've done it before. We've reinvented ourselves as a county previously. We'll do it again. And I think Brexit, whilst it will have some rocky road ahead, will present more opportunities than missed opportunities. And we want to make sure, I want to make sure, along with the Conservative government, hopefully, that Shropshire's best place, along with the Borough of Telford and Wrekin, to seize those opportunities.
Fantastic. Mark Pritchard, thank you very much. Best of luck on June the 8th, and I'll see you at the count.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.